Thank you, Ashley.
Julie, you're live.
Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Julie Mayfield. I am chair of the Asheville Regional Housing Consortium and a member of Asheville City Council. We have a very quick meeting today, presumably very quick meeting. We only have one agenda item, and that is to approve the 5-year consolidated plan. So we are going to dive into that, and the first order of business is going to be, I need to do a roll call to make sure, to see who is here. So if you are here, please just say yes when I call your name. And Ashley, this is also streaming live on the city's public engagement hub, which is accessible on the city's website. Christina, do I have a script for this? Because I don't know that I know the phone number or the code or anything.
So we don't necessarily have a script at the moment, but the code should be on our website, and I can drop the link into the, thank you, Ashley. Ashley dropped the link in there, but it's on our website as well.
Okay. So for folks who might want to call in and make public comment, and there will be an opportunity to do that on this plan, the phone number that you would call is 855-925-2801. Again, that's 855-925-2801. And the meeting code is 8763. And there will be prompts in that system to tell you how to get yourself in the queue to make public comment. All right, let's go to the roll call to see who's here. Ben Woody.
I'm here, Julie. Good morning.
Sounds like you have somebody else there with you as well.
I do.
Jessica Trotman. Is Jessica not here? Okay. All right. Matt Cable.
Here.
Town of Woodfin. Who is our Town of Woodfin person? Sounds like no one right at this moment. Alan McNeil.
Here.
Robin Merrill.
Here.
Sonia Flynn.
I'm here.
Barbara Volk.
Here.
Caitlin Finkel.
Here.
Kate Hayes. No Kate Hayes. Okay. Karen Keena. Karen as well. That's unusual. Eric Rufa.
Here.
Alex Carmichael.
Here.
Someone from Madison County. Do we have anyone from Madison County? All right. And Andrew Mayrone for Buncombe County.
Here.
Okay. And is there anyone whose name I did not call? Okay. All right. Well, welcome and good morning, everyone on the consortium. Paul, I'm going to pitch it to you to tell us about the 5-year consolidated draft plan.
Sure. Thanks, Julie, and appreciate everybody from the consortium finding time this morning to fit in a meeting regarding our 5-year consolidated plan. I'm going to introduce Mary Roderick with the Land of Sky Council of Governments. She has been our big partner in working through this 5-year consolidated plan. With COVID, which has taken over a year with all of different delays that have happened because of public outreach, et cetera. So I have a presentation for today, and I will begin sharing that, and I'm going to turn it over to Mary Roderick. And for what it's worth, great partnership with the Land of Sky. We really appreciate their work, as well as many of you all on the consortium for being a part of helping us with this consolidated plan from the beginning and now getting it through to the finish line. So thanks. And Mary, I'll turn it over to you, and I'll share my screen.
I can unmute myself, I see. All right. Good morning, everyone. So I am not going to try to talk through every piece of this plan because it's way too big for that. I'm going to hit a few highlights I'll be speaking to those when I see Paul's screen. But I basically want to also frame the outreach we did a little better because HUD's template doesn't really provide a lot of room for that. So he'll put it in presentation mode in just a second. All right, so highlights. And then I really want to, just hear from you on comments or questions. So I'm going to try to keep this short. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Paul. Oh no, some of my numbers aren't showing up on yours. But I have them on mine. All right, so I wanted to just do a quick plan and numbers at 391 pages and 64,804 words. It is a long document. This is because HUD has us repeat things a lot too, and the tables are very long. So, don't be too overwhelmed. You'll find yourself scrolling through pages of tables. Two sections are excerpted from Bowen's Housing Needs Assessment and Market Analysis, with which you're familiar. The strategic plan section deals with the overall goals and priority needs there, and some of the stuff is not. So this presentation is in your folder. Some of the numbers aren't showing up. There are 15 strategic goals and 17 priority needs. You're not seeing that, unfortunately, that we discussed with 58 stakeholder organizations at 6 focus group meetings, as well as with the broader community at 9 additional meetings and events. We also did 2 public meetings for providing input on housing and non-housing needs, and we did an online survey that was also distributed by paper to specific community organizations that requested them. And while many of the goals and needs remain the same, we did combine the goals of job creation and micro enterprise assistance, and I'll come back to that in a moment. And we removed multimodal transportation infrastructure as a goal to address with home and CDBG dollars, because this is covered with dedicated transportation funding streams at much higher levels than our home and CDBG dollars. And I'll return to that in a moment too. Today's meeting and the next council meeting will be additional opportunities for public input on the draft. And it does include, and that line is missing as well, 23 projects that were recently selected for this year's CDBG and home funding. Y'all are familiar with those. Those projects meet 10 of the 15 strategic plan goals. So in the annual action plan, you're hitting 10 of those goals. And they have a combined budget of over $20 million, not including the low-income housing tax credits for the villas at Swannanoa. And that is a leverage of CDBG and home dollars together of 7-to-1. So I go ahead and go to the next slide, Paul. I wanted to just show a couple of examples of the media used for outreach. Of course, we had an article in the Mountain Express. We also hit other newspapers, and you can see our QR code here that people could scan to take the survey. We handed out a lot of these hundreds of these cards to the right at the holiday lighting, Asheville holiday lighting, trying to get people to take the survey. I would have liked to have had more survey responses. Like I said, we had close to 300. Next slide. These don't show up great, but these are 2 large posters that I had printed out at the public meetings and at some of the community meetings where people could place dots next to their priorities, their top 3 housing priorities and their top 3 non-housing priorities, and they could also write in a missing category. All of those posters are at my office. I would have liked to have taken some pictures of them, and I apologize for not driving over there just to do that. But I do still have them all with all the dots. Man, this thing's really screwing up the formatting. Good to know about Google Meet. We also had the missing middle poster out for people to pick housing typologies. This is from the WNC Career Fair. And you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So no surprise, this is a Wordle or a word cloud of all of the input that we received. All of this is summarized in that PR 15 section. The table is pretty ugly, the formatting, unfortunately, that HUD's template. But I do encourage you to try to read through the columns of feedback. But no surprise that, affordable housing rose to the very top. And it was closely linked to concerns about transportation access and living wages. Vouchers were also one of the topics that came up a lot, largely because people are having trouble using those vouchers that are the housing choice vouchers that are out there to assist with rent. So I do encourage you to read through the public and stakeholder comments in that PR 15 table. And a lot of it, I think, will be familiar to you. So next slide, Paul. I'm going to touch on a couple of the noteworthy changes. As I mentioned, we did combine the goals of job creation and microenterprise assistance. This is in part really, and the next goal as well, the refined goal outcome indicators. Every goal can have multiple kind of outcomes, and those are defined by these goal outcome indicators. And we really wanted to try to clean up the reporting. I know at the last full meeting that y'all also talked about kind of tracking more of the, your performance over time. And, the staff is doing that because they have to do it for HUD, but it was a bit messy. So we really tried to clean that up and base it on what is being reported already and what could be reported. So you'll note that in both the strategic plan section and in the action plan section, if you look at the goals and then the indicators there. We also removed something, the NRSA, the Neighborhood Revitalization Strategy area, from the geographic priorities. That should have actually sunsetted after 5 years. It was kept around longer than that. It was called the Weed and Seed NRSA. And that was an old Department of Justice program that has expired. So that is no longer in the plan. We did update the east of the Riverway local target area. That is basically Census Tract 9 with two other census tracts, small portions of them that have been designated with as an opportunity zone, as a difficult to develop area. I'm forgetting another one right now, but it's all in the description. And so that is one of kind of the target areas in the plan. But we do not have this formal NRSA at this point. That is something that Paul and I will be working on. It requires a lot of public outreach to set up a new one. We need to revisit what benefit that gives us. The local target area is more flexible than an NRSA, but this is all very kind of HUD specific. And there are new sections that HUD added. They want to know about broadband access, hazard mitigation, and workforce development. So there are new things in the plan. Luckily, Land of Sky Regional Council was actually working on all of these topics, and I could pull from our regional resources to really fill these sections in. So next slide, and this is my last slide before I wrap up and take questions. There's a lot of data in this document. Some of it, comes from Bowen. There are, and something I want to improve before the draft is finalized, is kind of all the table labeling, because there's HUD tables and there's Bowen tables and there's other figures, and all of that really needs to be, labeled consecutively and cleaned up. But I don't like that disproportionate greater needs section data is so old. HUD just released in August, apparently they just released their 2013 to 2017 updated data, the CHAS data. But really what those sections are about is taking, HUD looks at income levels mainly, but there is a portion of it where they look at housing problems. That's lack of complete kitchen, lack of complete plumbing, or overcrowding or cost burden. And they do break that down by race and income levels. But the small sample sizes on some of those, so you'll see all of that in those sections. And I have highlighted, I did some additional calculations and highlighted what they describe as disproportionate greater need as where any group is affected at a rate of more than 10% than the jurisdiction as a whole. And that would be the whole consortium. So I have highlighted those areas. But I am concerned about the small sample sizes in some of those categories. Those always mean large margins of error, and none of that information is reported. So I'd say take all of that with a grain of salt. And ideally that data would be more up to date than it is. The public housing data is also not dated. That's automatically populated from HUD. That concerns me. I did compare it with some of the resources I could download, and some of the numbers like units correct. But the data piece, is what it is. I wouldn't get too hung up on the exact numbers, and I think it's more about comparisons. So I should have put a wrap-up slide in here. I realized that after I sent this off, but a couple other points. I mentioned that I still have formatting cleanup to do, and we'll be generating a table of contents to make the document easier to navigate. I did update the SP 35 section, all those anticipated resources. That's based on the action plan budget, which is much more concrete, but projected out over 5 years, which obviously is hard to do with private funding sources. But I did fill all of that in. I also found, for example, Buncombe County's affordable housing services programs through FY23 budget, and it's broken out by categories where they expect to be spending money. So for Matt, for example, cable, that is all in that anticipated resources section now. That is in the folder. It did not get sent out to you on Thursday. That has been updated since then. And obviously, I'll be continuing to make updates. We would like to have the draft finalized and in a PDF format up for, again, public review, everyone's review by November 16th. So you will have time to make comments and ask questions, over the next few weeks. But also right now, if there's a burning question that I need to talk about. So that's all I have for you.
All right. Thank you, Mary. And just appreciate all of your work and everyone who's been working on this for however long, close to 2 years now, maybe, I guess. Any questions from consortium members for Mary?
My email address too is mary@landofsky.org. And again, I apologize for not putting that on a wrap-up slide. I'll drop it in the chat, but I think many of you already have it.
Yeah. All right. Well, hearing no questions, I just want to make a comment, and I'm going to drop something in the chat too. So a comment and a question for Paul. My very first year on City Council, I think I went to the National League of Cities conference. This would have been 4 years ago, I guess. And they had just issued a report on economic mobility, and it was a report that had 33 recommendations for that cities could policies and programs that cities could adopt that would help people become more economically mobile. And I brought that back to the city of Asheville and, encouraged us to sort of do something about it. I brought it up, I think, almost every year in our council planning sessions. And it has, in some ways, it has not ever risen to the top of our priorities. But I also know, and Paul, this is where I get to the question, the National League of Cities created a group that we were invited to participate in. It was funded by the Annie E. Casey Foundation. And I believe Heather or someone from the department was a part of this group that, again, before the pandemic was meeting periodically to talk about this and how cities could really more effectively create economic mobility for their residents. Is that effort still happening? Are we still a part of it?
Paul, do you want me to take that?
Yeah, if you want to, Sam. I'm looking at the document right now. Thanks, Sam.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. This is Sam Powers. I'm the city's Community and Economic Development Director. And Councilwoman Mayfield, thank you for your question. First, I want just a moment of privilege to thank again Mary and the Land of Sky Regional Council for their work on this. We're here as a regional group, and having an organization like the Council of Governments is really important, and we're grateful to be able to address regional problems in a regional way. And so it's great to see everybody on the call this morning representing our region. So again, thank you for your work on our region's behalf, Mary. The group you're talking about, I think, is that was funded through the Annie Casey Foundation. Is the Southern Cities cohort is the one I'm thinking of. And it is a group of cities across the South, including Richmond, Charlotte, New Orleans, Memphis, Asheville, Atlanta, looking at problems that affect economic mobility. And of course, housing is one of those. Kimberly Archie, who was our previous equity director, had kind of been leading that effort for the cities cohort of that group. But Rosanna Mulcahy, who is our Office of Business Inclusion Manager in our combined Community and Economic Development Department, and of course, the Community Development Division is a part of that department, has been our representative and has been very diligent involved in those meetings. Nikki Reed, who is our Economic Development Program Director for the city, has been in some of those meetings. They moved virtually. Actually, I think there was a trip to one of the cities that was getting ready to take place literally in March, the weekend of the shutdown. So things have moved virtually. I haven't heard an update in the last month or two, but I feel sure that the group is still active, just like this group, in some ways maybe more active virtually than they were, meeting in person. I think some ways it's a little hard to see what's happening in communities without being there, but the group is still active, and the city is still an active participant.
Good. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. It's, we're obviously all doing a lot around this issue. And this report, indicates the resources that are going. I think it was something like $20 million. Is that a year? Something like that.
That's this year's action plan, all the budgets combined, without the low-income housing tax credit, which is like another over $6 million actually. So.
Right. So a lot of resources. This report, when I read it, again, as a brand new council member, I sort of thought, oh gosh, there could be a lot here that there's clearly things here we are doing. There could also be things here that we're not doing that we should look at. So I just, as I'm transitioning out, just want to leave that thought with this group, that maybe that is a resource that could help guide the work of our region and these local governments going forward in some capacity. So, okay. So I think we now just need a vote. If there, again, any other questions? Oh, we need to do public comment too, but any questions for Mary? All right. And I don't know who's driving the train here, if it's Christina or Ashley, but do we have anybody in the queue for public comment?
Julie, we have no callers on the line.
Okay. All right. Then I think that frees us up to take a vote. And so I will do a roll call vote one more time. Ben Woody.
Yes.
Okay. Jessica Trotman. Oh, I think Jessica was not here. Matt Cable.
Yes.
And Town of Woodfin, has anyone from Woodfin joined? All right. Alan McNeil.
Yes.
Robin Merrill.
Yes.
Sonia Flynn.
Yes.
Barbara Volk.
Yes.
Caitlin Finkel.
Yes.
Kate Hayes. Kate has not joined. Karen Kina. Karen, did you join us? Eric Rufa.
Yes.
Alex Carmichael.
Yes.
Anyone from Madison County join us? All right, and Andrew Mayrone,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. So I think that is our only agenda item. So we are finished, and I will just take a moment of personal privilege. This is my last meeting with this group, and I appreciate your first of all just your work and dedication to these issues, and also your patience with me coming in as being chair and actually never having attended a meeting of this group, which will be true for the next chair. So I will ask you on their behalf to whoever that is to please be patient and helpful. And Robin, particularly, that's going to be you if you remain vice chair, and I know that you will. So thank you all very much. And I will be saying this, I think, a lot, but wherever I end up, my door will always be open to you all if I can be helpful in any capacity. So, all right. If there's nothing else, then I think we are adjourned. All right.
Thank you.
Julie.